I have better font than that, but PCs. Like I said about my Mac. So in Luke 18, there's this story about how loads of people are trying to bring their kids to Jesus, but the disciples stopped them because back then, kids were kind of less than second-class citizens. Here we have kids should be seen and not heard. Back then it was kids shouldn't be seen or heard. So until they were adults, nobody really cared where the kids were, and the disciples are saying, just keep the kids away. But Jesus stops them and says, no, let the kids come to me. And you can almost picture the kids just climbing all over Jesus and him praying for them and loving them. And it's just this amazing picture of this man who's just, putting the kids first and loving them. Now, I've got 3 kids, and when they're climbing all over me, it feels like there's 20 of them. So I can only imagine what it was like for Jesus. But the thing is, kids are a great judge of character. This is a Jesus you can trust. I don't know what your dad is like, but doesn't this sound like the best dad ever? He's always got time, and he's totally safe. You can totally trust him. Back on to tough Jesus. So, Jesus was constantly causing offense, and he was incredibly direct. I always used to have this picture of Jesus. I pictured him as a little bit like this wet vicar. You might know the type. His breath stinks a little bit of tea, he's still got biscuits on his chin. You go to shake his hand, and you can only ever get 3 fingers because he never quite gives you all of his hand. He's kind of like, hi, and his hand's kind of slightly wet. And whenever you talk to him, he pretty much agrees with everything you say, and also agrees with everything the person who said the opposite of you says. He never disagrees with anybody. He never causes offense. That wasn't Jesus. Jesus is constantly saying offensive things to the religious leaders of his day. On a number of occasions, he says stuff that gets them so mad that they try and kill him. That tends to be pretty mad there. My favorite's from John 8. So they get into a big debate about who Jesus is. And they don't believe him. They say that he's crazy and filled with demons. And he tells them their thick skull and that their mom slept with the devil. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a pretty good insult right there. Your mom was having around, not with any other guy, but with the devil himself. So that's pretty offensive stuff right there. But then he goes on to tell them that he is God. He is the great I am. And that puts them over the edge. And they literally pick up stones, ready to whip them at his head, but he escapes from them. Now, that's hardcore. That's a little bit like me going into some bar in Texas somewhere, calling them all a bunch of sissies and saying their mom was ugly until they pull their guns out and start shooting. That is hardcore. He was in the temple at the time. He was on their turf. That is tough Jesus. He's tough, gutsy, saying it how it is. Jesus will always stand up for the truth, no matter what. Back on to gentle Jesus. This is the one I like. No, I like them both. So in Luke 5, we see Jesus is in a building, and it's completely rammed with people because he's been healing people this whole time, and people just want to be near him and can't leave him alone. So nobody can get in or out, and there's a massive crowd. Now everybody's trying to see him, and there's this group of guys who have this friend who's completely paralyzed. And they must have been amazing friends because they are so desperate to see their friend healed that they start taking the place apart. They climb onto the roof, cut a hole in the roof, and lower their friend to see Jesus. Now, if this was anybody else, or especially if this was in Britain, first thing Jesus would say, back of the queue and take a number, because I'm not doing this. But Jesus can see how desperate they are to see their friend healed. And he heals them right there, blesses him, and he sends him on his way dancing. This is amazing. Jesus sees the little guy. He's late and he can't get in to see Jesus, and Jesus puts him first. If you're the little guy, and if you feel like no one ever sees you, Jesus sees you. Even if you're late, even if you're the very last minute, he's still waiting for you. Back on to tough. This is one of my favorites. I love this. In John 2, we learn about this huge scam that's going on. So, in the temple, people are being cheated out of their money. People are being ripped off. And it's happening inside the church. This is supposed to be a place of refuge where people are saved, people are loved and cared for. But instead, they're being ripped off, and it's wrong. It's 100% wrong. But even worse, the religious leaders are getting a cut, and Herod, who's the governor at the time, he's behind it. So it goes straight up to the top. So what does Jesus do? Do you think he writes a nice little petition and gets all his friends to sign it? Maybe he sets up a nice little tent with some warm, weak tea to sit outside on some lawn for a little while? Maybe he writes a nice, funny placard? No. Jesus storms in there like thunder, flips over a table and kicks everyone out of that place. He takes charge. He even kicks out the sheep and cows. This is Wolverine Jesus. This is Jesus taking over. You know, that's what I'm talking about. This is a Jesus I can look up to. This is, you know, there's something wrong, and he sees it, and he does something. He doesn't even take the time to put on some lycra and a mask. This is hardcore. You know, this is a Jesus who will fight in your corner, no matter what. Back on to gentle. So, all through the Bible, we see Jesus constantly healing people with leprosy. Now, leprosy was a horrible disease. There was no cure, and nobody knew how you got it, so everybody stayed away from these people. Once you got it, it was like you were the living dead. Everybody would shun you, and the only other people you'd see would be people with leprosy. It was horrible. No friends, no family, just other lepers. Now, Jesus made time for these people. He healed them. He talked to them. He touched them. He went out of his way to find the lepers. That is so loving. This is the creator of the universe, finding the lowest of the low and finding them where they are. You know, there is nothing about any of you that could ever push Jesus away. Jesus loves you when no one else will. Finally, the toughest, hardest thing that anyone has ever done. Jesus willingly walked to death for people who hated him. He knew the end from the very beginning, and he knew what he came here to do. We do bad stuff, we all do, and we deserve to be punished for it, and that punishment is separation from God. But in comes Jesus. He's tough enough to take it for us, but he's compassionate enough and loving enough to be willing to take it for us on the cross. Jesus is amazing. This is Jesus in 3D. He was tough. He was kind. He was afraid of absolutely nothing. He is totally worth following. Not only was he amazing a person, he was God. He is king. He is God who became a man. He's here right now. And we see glimpses of him in the Bible, just a flash of his character. But when we see him face to face, we'll have eternity to get to know him, because it will take that long. Now, we called this event the door. In Revelations, it says, "Here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with him, and he with me." Now, if you don't know Jesus, and you want to, open the door. Ask him in. You have nothing to lose. And if you thought that you knew Jesus, but you had the wrong guy, you had some skinny white guy, and you want to discover the real Jesus, talk to him. You have nothing to lose. So, I'm going to be at the back afterwards, if any of you want to talk to me, or if any of you want to pray with me. And there'll be other people who will be at the back if you want prayer. But we will always give you this opportunity at the door, that there is absolutely no pressure for this. We just want to be available to you. We want to serve you. So, during the last songs, I'll be at the back, along with a few others, and if you want prayer, come and see us, and we'll pray for you. If God is speaking to you right now, don't let this opportunity pass. Speak back. Take that time. We're going to watch this short movie, and then the band will come up and we'll sing.